About this now to Tom Grundy, who's editor-in-chief and co-founder of the Hong Kong Free Press, also joining us from Hong Kong. Tom, good to have you with us. So, as Xavier said, the 4 pro-democracy lawmakers who've been disqualified were already barred from running for legislative elections. So how significant is this decision today, and what does it actually change?
Yeah, these 4 were banned from a now postponed election that was supposed to take place in September, but was delayed a year, supposedly over COVID-19. It has happened before that we've seen democratically elected lawmakers like this ousted from the legislature. But for the first time, this is not going through the courts. Within minutes, just hours after Beijing made its ruling, the Hong Kong government acted, and they have to now leave the premises. The legislature was halted just as this news came through, and it appears it cannot be challenged legally. Nevertheless, Dennis Kwok, one of those who is now no longer a lawmaker, he said that this is clearly in breach of the basic law and our right to participate in public affairs, and also a failure to observe due process. But as you know, this may now leave the legislature without any opposition at all.
Right. But will the other lawmakers, Tom, will they actually go ahead with their threat to resign en masse from the legislature?
We understand so. We understand that in the coming hours, the whole pro-democracy camp, all opposition lawmakers are set to quit. Perhaps a rejection of efforts to divide and rule when it comes to Beijing's crackdown on this. You know, the pro-democracy and opposition camp have remained pretty united since the 2019 protests and unrest, perhaps learning lessons from the wake of the 2014 umbrella movement when we saw a lot more fragmentation. Certainly, most of those targeted today are from quite a mainstream, rather bland, pro-democracy party, considered quite stuffy, perhaps, by some protesters. But certainly, it seems that they are being caught up in some of these clauses that forbid foreign interference, and we're going to see all of the Democrats perhaps step down, leaving what some critics are going to perceive as a rubber stamp parliament.
Right. So what would that mean then for the credibility of Hong Kong's government and its chief executive, Carrie Lam?
I imagine we're going to see NGOs, foreign governments, activists, Democrats basically begin to call this a rubber stamp now. There's going to be no issue in the government getting its legislation through. Chief Executive Carrie Lam completely denied this is going to be a rubber stamp, saying that she respects the legislative process. She met the press just in the last hour, saying that she requested this legal guidance, this constitutional guidance from Beijing, because Hong Kong cannot handle it alone. And she labored and spent a lot of time talking about how this decision was based on law, based on the legislative ordinance, based on the national security law. And certainly that latter legislation is overshadowing all of this. And it seems to be being used very broadly to crack down on all kinds of dissent in recent months, such as how broad-ranging it is. So not so much a slow-boiling frog, perhaps, for the opposition here now, because things are happening very quickly.
Thank you, Tom, for talking to us about this. Tom Grundy is the editor-in-chief and co-founder of the Hong Kong Free Press. We appreciate your time.